Mr. Thompson here. We're looking at U.S. History Standard 8, analyze the relationship between slavery, growing north-south divisions, and westward expansion that led to the outbreak of the Civil War. In particular, we're looking at part C of that standard, analyze the impact of the Mexican War on growing sectionalism. In 1845, the U.S., under the leadership of President James K. Polk, took Texas into the Union. As a result, war broke out between the U.S. and Mexico over territorial claims to Texas. The war proved to be swift and decisive because Mexico ended up losing their territorial claim to Texas, California, and New Mexico. The United States victory in the war with Mexico now pitted the North and South against one another over the issue of slavery because now they had these newly acquired lands. So now what do you do with those newly acquired lands? Do you allow slavery? Do you make them a free state? Sectionalism, so this idea of differing views between the North and the South, differing cultural lifestyles, continued to grow even more bitter, and the U.S. led down this path toward civil war. The Mexican War began after the U.S. annexed Texas and then insisted that the new border with Mexico be the Rio Grande River. Mexico, however, insisted that the border was the Nueces River, which was 150 miles north of the Rio Grande River. Also, Mexico believed that the U.S. had set its sights on other Mexican territories of California and New Mexico. The U.S. had already tried to purchase these territories from Mexico twice. When President Polk sent American forces under the command of General Taylor south of the Nueces River to the banks of the Rio Grande River, Mexican forces attacked General Taylor's troops. Each country portrayed this incident differently. The American version emphasized Mexico invading American land north of the Rio Grande River. Polk used this incident to justify his declaration of war in his message to Congress in May 1846. The declaration of war was overwhelmingly approved 2 days later. As the war developed, the U.S. attacked on two fronts. First, U.S. forces occupied California. Second, a large American force attacked Mexico from Texas. Mexican forces were defeated, and the U.S. occupied much of northern Mexico. As General Taylor's northern force advanced south, a second force landed at Veracruz, led by General Scott. Scott's forces advanced over land from the coast, attacked, and ultimately captured Mexico City on August 7th, 1846. As the war was coming to a quick conclusion, President Polk sent Nicholas Trist to represent the United States in meetings with the Mexican government to end the war. Trist found the political situation in Mexico to be chaotic and worked out a peace treaty with the members of the Mexican government other than the President Santa Anna. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was negotiated and signed in early 1848. The provisions of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo included the Rio Grande River would be the recognized border between the U.S. and Mexico. Mexico ceded, so gave up, the territories of California and New Mexico. This area became known as the Mexican Cession. And third, the U.S. paid $15 million to the Mexican government and assumed all claims of American citizens against the Mexican government. When the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was introduced into the United States for ratification, it was immediately caught up in sectional tensions between the anti slavery and pro slavery factions. Pennsylvania Representative David Wilmot introduced legislation in the House of Representatives that boldly declared neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall ever exist in lands won in the Mexican War. So basically, all those lands that the Mexican War just added to the U.S., slavery is not going to be in any of those territories. That's what David Wilmot was claiming. Wilmot and other Northern representatives had grown tired of Polk and his allies' continual block of internal improvement bills in the House and were worried that the extension of slavery into California would harm free labor. The Wilmot Proviso passed in the House, where northern states held the majority. However, the proviso failed in the Senate because there was a balance between the number of free and the number of slave states. The issue of whether to allow or to prohibit slavery in new states remained unresolved, and sectionalism was growing more tense. The political differences between the northern parts and southern parts of the country over whether or not to allow slavery in these new states was just a preview of the violent acts that would come that would lead to full-scale war.